So, welcome to another episode of Sit with Sid. Today, I have with me Trishank. I'm not going to try and pronounce your last name. I'm sure I'm going to butcher that. But you're the guy I would truly call a content machine. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I've seen your Instagram reels, your IGTV videos, your YouTube videos, your full length podcasts. It's like you're making content all across platforms, and all of them are different. It's not like it's repurposed content or anything like that. So yeah, that's why I can really call your content machine. How do you do that, man? I mean, I've tried. I've tried making reels, and what I realized is that I'm not the person who can do that. I really cannot communicate an idea within 30 seconds. That's why I run a podcast. So, and what goes in there?
So it all started for me as a podcast. The idea was always to run a podcast. But as and when time went by, I did have a lot of advice from friends. I did have a lot of advice from my editors who helped me edit the video. And I just realized that I wanted to make my presence on different platforms. So I'm going to keep this simple for you. So Instagram started out with a simple way of just promoting my podcast, right? Figuring out a feed wherein jitna bhi mera podcast ka hai, photos, small snippets, and that's how Instagram started for me. What I realized was people on Instagram don't care about it. As time went by, I started seeing that all people care about is reels. It took me a time. I'd say I was actually slow in getting to the Reels business because I was just focusing on promoting my podcast on Instagram, and I just realized people don't need it. After that, I realized that podcast will still take a lot of time to grow on YouTube as well, because the kind of podcast I create are kind of career specific, which I've tried to change now over the time as well. But the thing what happens with that is it's not recurring content. People are not going to keep coming back if that career doesn't interest you. So that's how I started these IGTV and YouTube career tips video. And I was like, these are small videos. Since I'm putting them on YouTube, I might as well just put it on IGTV as well. So I think that's the only content that's used on both platforms. But that's because my goal is to just completely build two completely different audiences. I've realized something that your audience from Instagram won't go to YouTube in a second. Maybe 5 to 10% will transfer from Instagram to YouTube, but they're completely different audiences. So that just made me realize I need to create different content for different audiences.
Yeah, I agree, man. I've heard many people say that their Instagram audience. Actually, when you create a YouTube first presence, that's when your rollover audience on Instagram is coming. A lot of people from YouTube come to your Instagram, but people from Instagram do not come to your YouTube. So, that's what a lot of people say. So I completely agree on that. That's why even I am trying to build a YouTube audience where a lot of my peers they've been building Instagram audiences, and that's their whatever they want to do. It's good, but actually the objective is different, right, for both of us. So that's how I think that works. Even you know that a YouTube audience is more dedicated and comes to listen to you more.
100%. I do think the YouTube audience is completely different in terms of they are okay with longer term content. But again, I think transferring your YouTube subscribers to Instagram is another hard task because you can easily add links to your Instagram, but a lot of people don't tend to go into the description, and that's the only place where you can put your Instagram link. So I think it's just completely two different audiences which require two different things.
Tell me about this. You told me that you're 22. You're going to turn 22, and you give career tips and career advices that how to nail an interview and how to answer a recruiter. So where's that experience coming from? Have you been to many jobs? Have you been to many recruiters? Have you worked with many recruiters? Does that come from experience, or does that come from anywhere else?
I think it's a mix. It's a mix of experience and it's a mix of research. It's a bit of both. I think me going abroad taught me a lot of things that I did not know. While I was in India, I was doing a couple of internships, but the interview process was never as rigorous as it was when I was studying abroad. When I was going abroad, for me, the interview process started a year in advance, right? That's how it is. So, for example, if I want to recruit for 2022 summer, I will be applying within the next couple of months. That's how the interview process is. And the applications go live within the next couple of months. But I've been working on getting myself known to those companies since the past 4 months already. So it's a very
Yeah.
long process that I've learned from my study abroad, that there are a lot of things you need to do. You just don't need to apply online, right? And that being said, when I'm talking to these people, preparing for my application or preparing to get that interview, I just learned so many things from these people who have already been through the interview process, who've been at the company from so many years. And they just keep giving me different kind of pointers of what should be done and what should not be done. That has been the key point that I think was missing, and I wished I got that information when I was in India. There still might be information, but I thought it was not easily accessible. That's the entire reason I started this, because I wanted to make sure that I did not get that information easily in India, but maybe I can do my best and see whatever I've learned and heard, and I can convey that. And obviously, with that, I tend to do my research. It's important that I do my research as well. I just don't take someone I've heard from and just put it out there. It's important that whatever content you're posting, you make sure you do your research, because without research, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I think research and
Exactly.
experience both play a very important role for me.
I agree, man. I mean, like you cannot always go with just the anecdotal evidence that you got. You also need to verify that if what I have faced is actually true or not. So yeah, that's spot on, man. So tell me this: what are some things that you've noticed when you go abroad, and what are and like there are some questions. There are a lot of questions that we Indians tend to have relations to career. I mean, that's like a big problem that we face. So, what are some questions that you've seen come your way through from Indians, which would be almost laughable to ask if you were abroad?
That's an interesting one. I don't think there's anything laughable, honestly. I tend to believe that every question is valid. It's just how people how people have done their research or people have not, right? I would say a question that is laughable is the one that is you can easily find on Google. Those are the kind of questions that are laughable. The biggest difference that I've come across when it comes to careers is that in the abroad, irrespective of whatever you're studying, right, whether that's science or whether that's business or anything in particular in those two fields, you can easily switch to any industry or you can get a job in any of the fields. Whereas when it comes to India, what I've seen is a lot of people are just stuck in the field that they want to be in, or they have studied in. I think that's one of the biggest questions that people keep asking me. Is it okay if I change my industry now after spending 4 years in a particular field, right? That's getting a no. People are getting the hang of it. But I think that's one of the biggest thing that I've realized while I was studying abroad, that whatever you do, it doesn't matter. Like a psychology, a liberal arts major will take a position at a leading investment bank or a company as big as the big four in consulting. Whereas in India, that's kind of tough to have, and people don't even think about things
Yeah.
such as this.
I mean, the most like I've been the biggest question that I've got from everyone is that liberal arts के बाद क्या करोगे? And
Exactly, right?
so I mean
Exactly.
I never really had an answer to that. I just told them अगर पता होता तो भी liberal arts नहीं करता तो.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. So that's the thing. So बाहर क्या होता है is you are just in such an environment. You're just among it. It also depends what kind of friends you have, obviously, and you need a mix of both. I'm not just saying that you need to be
One kind of friends.
with people who are just studying all the time. No, you need to have a balance. You need to go out and experience the city, experience a different life as well. But for me, what happened was while I had those group of people. Those same people were also competitive in a way that it pushed each other. So I was always on the line saying, Ki, ha, I know this is coming up because X person was doing something, Y person was doing something, and I was the said person doing something. And we always sharing those things with each other. So we all knew what was going around. And that's how we could figure out कि हाँ मैं तो तीनों चीजें कर सकता हूँ. I can just try all the three things and then figure out what I like. And that's something that's missing. Like especially like you said, you're a liberal arts. People keep asking you that and you don't know. I think that's how it should be. You
Yeah.
shouldn't know, and you should try three different things to understand what you want.
I agree, man. I mean, I'm all not like I'm what of 19. I'm gonna turn 19 next month, and I think I think if you ask and if I think if you try to box yourself at the age of 18 or 19 under one thing, I think that's first of all that's not fair to yourself because you haven't even seen the world. What's in there to
Correct.
there are 100 different subjects that you do not get to study in school. I mean, I never knew that something like creative writing can be taught at a college, or something like
Exactly.
film studies can be taught when I was in 10th grade. And that's what that was like. 10th grade is the mark where you're like, okay, अब तुम देख लो तुम्हें science में जाना है, arts में जाना है, commerce में जाना है. So that's like the place. And I was talking to one of my friends some time earlier, and he had a very definitive career path like before 12th. Like when we used to talk, he was like अभी मैं ये करूँगा फिर मैं ये करूँगा फिर मैं ये करूँगा. So I chatted with him after a long time and asked him भाई क्या क्या तैयारी चल रही है. तो he's like भाई अभी तो मुझे पता भी नहीं what I'm gonna do after this. And तो उसकी वजह से थोड़ा परेशान था. So I told him, bro, I think you have more control over your life now. You can explore more because as you said, I mean, you travel to different countries and there other than what course you're studying, you're also discovering many different things that are out there, and you see कि इस चीज में भी करियर हो सकता है, इस चीज में भी हो सकता है, इस चीज में भी हो सकता है.
I think that's actually that's pretty accurate. But I want to touch on the fact that your friend was a little, haywire because of the fact that he was confused, right? And I think another thing I've realized is that it's okay to feel that way. Like it's not normalized enough ki you feel that way, and that's the main reason that people are not okay with trying different things. Because we have been put in such a mindset ki we need to know at all times what we have to do. And this is a very cliche thing to say from me also, but it is what it is. You have to say it out loud because it's not become mainstream. It's okay. Like there are still days wherein I've been doing this for 8 months and I still feel like, should I try different things? Should I try different things?
Yeah.
And I will try different things. Like this is just the start for me, right? I don't need to be stuck to one thing for the rest of my life. So the fact that I'm saying that it's okay to be confused and something that I have experienced myself, I think people should just start normalizing it. Everyone has bad days, and those confused days, those irritated days are those. Confused
Tell me about
days.
that confusion, because I think from what I've heard up until now, you've faced that confusion some like a couple of times now. I mean, how was that confusion have been for you? What was the first time you faced that when you didn't know what to do?
First time was I can say back in my second year of college, I just completed a couple of internships in data analytics and audit. At that point of time, I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So I was just applying everywhere because I was like, I just want to try different things and see if I enjoy. I did not enjoy audit as much. But that doesn't mean I was like confused now, ki, arey, what to do. Like, I was just like, okay, let's take the summer off. The summer is about to get over. Let's enjoy the rest of the months. And then once we get back to my third year, we'll start figuring things out. I get to my third year and I get interested in investment banking. And this was 2019, 2020. It was about to be 2020. It was 2019 December, and I was so confused because I hadn't landed anything. As I was telling you earlier, you need to start applying 1 year in advance. So if 2019 December तक मुझे कुछ नहीं मिला था, for 2020 May, that's game over for me. No big company is gonna take me in for internships because they have already filled any positions. I think that was the biggest confusion for me. कि अभी मैं क्या करूँ? I have nothing to do, and if I can't land a third year में internship, fourth year is going to be even harder, and that's when I graduate. What I did was I tried to relax myself. I was like, I've done my best. I'll just try to do something else, which is completely fine. Another different opportunity. Luckily or unluckily, unfortunately, I had to come back early. COVID hit. Everything happened. I just started trying different things again. I met a friend. We started a couple of businesses. Didn't work out. June, July happened again. Didn't have any idea where I was going back. So this was another confusion period. What should I do?
No.
Should I go back, continue my studies? So I think this was like the third time I was confused. What should I do? I just decided to take that gap year because I knew it was not worth it to go back and study online from Mumbai. I'm not a huge advocate of that.
Yeah, same too.
And as soon as I agreed not to go back, the fourth confusion came up कि एक साल के क्या करेंगे. So, and that's how the career show started after that, because I was talking to the people that I keep talking about, the informational interviews, and that just got me the idea of the career show. And that's how the career show started. So these are like the four confusion parts of my life that I just mentioned, and there are way more that happen on a more regular basis, but these are like the main chunks of it.
I think the main thing that you mentioned, like that was common in all the four confusions that you had, which I can also second that. There's always a sense of calm and always a sense of looking at the prospects of what you can do. Like if I were to point at my biggest confusion in my life, that was sometime around this last year when I my boards were they were cut off, and my JEE exam was getting postponed, and I was still studying for like after my boards I took like a week off, and then I got back to studying because JEE ke liye padhna hai. And I wasn't doing any well in my mock tests, so I understood that maybe this thing's not for me. But I kept trying because I really had no choice at that point in time. But so what was I saying? I was saying that I was doing not really well in my mock test. Then I realized that maybe I can do something else, because I really wanted to be an engineer. I think engineering was more of a stepping stone for me to do other things. But then I sat down with my parents. I told them, and they firstly there was a disagreement, but then they asked me कि अब क्या करोगे, ये बताओ, अब engineering नहीं करनी तो क्या करोगे. Then I took really like a month to figure out stuff. Okay, this is what I can do. I'm good at this, and then I started applying to different places for different courses, and that's where I landed in liberal arts. So I think being calm in that place, because what people tend to do is they think कि यार अभी नहीं तो कभी नहीं, and अभी ये आज मैंने ये नहीं किया तो कल मेरे साथ ये नहीं होगा या ये हो जाएगा. I think that's the problem that we face as Indians a lot, because we're very sense of urgency we have been in since our childhood. I think कि exam के लिए पढ़ो, फिर ये करो, फिर वो करो.
I agree there was a sense of calm, and you got it exactly right. That's the reason I was able to get through those confusions. But I also want to say there were days where I was annoyed. There were days when I
Yeah,
was
I mean,
like,
obviously.
I don't want to. I don't want to talk to anyone. Just don't come near me because I'll just lash out.
Yeah, I remember. I remember. I
So
was crying for days sometimes. So.
exactly. So at the end of the day, yes, staying calm helps you get through it, and that's how it should be. But don't be taken aback if there are days where you don't want to talk to anyone or you just want to lash out.
I mean, yeah, obviously, no one gets through the storm very calmly. I mean, obviously, there's. But if you
Exactly.
look at it in the longer
Exactly.
run, you see that when I had to
100%.
take the pivotal decision at that point in time, I was calm.
That's 100% true. That's 100% true.
Yeah. So tell me this: why do you one big difference that I noticed is that in India and in abroad, like abroad, people get into part-time jobs or maybe internships very too early, I would say, and they are always in that phase where they need to sponsor some kind of their expenses. Like maybe I'm a doing a part-time job somewhere to travel, like fill my tuition or maybe do my food or something like that. But in India we don't have a concept like that. Like if I were to give you a personal example, when I started doing my first internship, my dad was like, क्यों कर रहे हो, पढ़ाई पे ध्यान दो. So why do you think that is? I mean, it's a bit surprising, right? I mean, कि इतना difference है.
I think it is surprising. I think the biggest difference is that it's normalized over there. If you notice what happens in abroad is that after 18, children are usually on their own. Once they go off to university, the parents take care of the big expenses, and then it's all upon the kids. Yes, a lot of places it's different. A lot of times it's that's more generalized. Yes, the parents do take care of the expensive majority of the time, but they promote their children to be more independent. Whereas in India, parents like to take care of their children more. They're like, till we are there, you shouldn't focus on anything else other than studies. We just want you to focus on studies so that you are able to get wherever you want to. Right. I'll give you my example. It for me as well. What happens is I was never stopped from doing internships, but the responsibility of parents is that you don't spend, right, you save your money. So I think that's the kind of mentality which is different. In India, parents want you to save, whereas in abroad people want you to learn how to manage your money, which is a very important skill.
Yeah.
That's the reason I think, moreover, not only internship, part-time jobs are
Lifetime
normalized over
jobs.
there. As soon as I went abroad, I also started doing them. Why? Because I was just in a different environment. If people around me are doing it, I want to do it as well. I don't want to be the odd one out there. And that's one of the biggest things. And other thing is, a lot of people in India are also thinking, "Arey, part-time job ka pay bahut kam hai." Uh, right? That's one of the biggest things as well. Yes, I agree that can be a problem. You always need to take into account the time you're putting in and the money you're receiving. But I think it's not only the money;
Yeah.
it's also the experience you're gaining. My
Experience.
part-time job was at a ticket
Yeah.
office. My part-time job was a ticket office. My tickets based hota sir. But at the same time, I was getting to meet new people at the office and see how business is actually done. Like one mistake in I print two tickets and then two seats are gone, right? Two seats disappeared for one ticket.
Yeah.
This is just a very minor
Yeah.
glitch that I'm telling you about. So you just need to not take into account money, you also need to take into account the experience you get out of those part-time jobs. So I think it's not only a parent problem, it's also a student problem. And you need to know how to convince your parents.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. As you said, ना कि वो दो ticket extra print हो गई तो you realize ना where there you're also धीमे धीमे you're getting on your own. I mean, if in school or
Exactly.
college you make a
Like,
small mistake, there's a teacher to correct it. But if you do if you make a mistake in the part-time job, your boss is gonna,
Fired.
he's gonna scold you. I mean, he's gonna
Exactly.
hold you accountable, and
Exactly. And then that's how
that's
you
what you
learn.
realize if,
If you make
huh,
that's how you learn. And then if the same thing happens again when you're at somewhere else at a real job, that probably won't happen because you've already made that mistake and you've already learned.
yeah, that's what I was coming at. I mean, if you have no experience whatsoever of the outside world while you're in college, once you start getting into a job, you'll be making all those mistakes that you could have made while you're in college, and you could have gone off. You could have been, held off, or with not a lot of there would be any consequences, because obviously you're a kid. I mean, anyone in college is a kid, and they are bound to make mistakes. But if you make that same mistake in a corporate job after you've completed a degree and faced through all of the interview rounds, and then you're kind of looked down upon.
Correct. Correct.
So
100%.
yeah, I mean, I would something that I would pat myself for is that I'm very prompt and accountable and diligent. I think those three
That's
things
very important.
I think those three things have come from me gaining experience from different places by working with people who are not known to me. So I know that if I am working for someone who does not know me, I need to show them my work as the best, because they won't consider
Correct.
me that okay, this is Siddhansh. No, this is one of the interns that is working with them. And अगर उसका काम खराब है तो वो इंसान खराब है. तो
Correct. No, I think prompt is very important. You need to be quick on your feet, and you need to be accountable. Yeah, whatever you do, it's your decision. So make your own decisions, and then just be liable for them.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, accountability is something that you very rarely find. I mean, I've also been trying to build a team myself, and accountability is tough to find. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly.
So,
But I think that's a skill that people will learn.
have you studied college in India?
I did my 11th and 12th, so I didn't go to school. I was at the Maharashtra board, so kind
Yeah,
of.
that's the college. So, what's the cultural difference that you'd see in other places? Is there something? I mean, obviously there's people coming from different cultures as well. I mean, in abroad, but is there a different approach to life that you think that people abroad are taking, especially students?
Wow. So I can go on and on about this. I think I would have a better answer to this if I could compare it with someone who's actually done a bachelor's degree. So I've had a lot of friends over here who've done their bachelor's degree, and what they tend to do is they tend to continue their friendship from 11th and 12th. So जो 11th and 12th में friends बनाए, they usually end up sticking with them. I think the biggest cultural difference is ki how open people are. It's not like you're stuck with that same group forever for the entirety of your 4 years. Yes, this is common that everyone gets a close-knit group, but the thing that happens is you tend to meet people on a daily basis abroad. I think the biggest factor for this is that every class has different people. So abroad kya hota hai, you get to pick your own classes. So you get to make your own schedule, you get to pick your own classes. Yes, there are a bunch of classes that you need to take, but majority of them you can select day and time also. Whereas in India, you have the same class. So at least in 11th and 12th, I used to sit in one class and the teacher used to keep changing.
Yeah.
Here, what happens is students keep changing from class to class. Correct. So that's how you just end up meeting more people. While you have the control of your own schedule, you also have the control of the people you're meeting. And over there are more projects that are hands-on. So you do a lot of projects with people. So that way you're forced to interact with people.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can make your own team, but sometimes you cannot. So you're just stuck with random people.
Yeah, I mean, I think my college does a good job at that. Like at the course with liberal arts, I mean, something that I've noticed is that my course is a lot of group projects. I mean, if we have three internal assessments, then one of them is gonna be at least one of them is going to be a group assignment. And I think a lot of friends that I made were one through group assignments, because we tend to grow really close after those, because वो ऐसा होता है ना कि it's not that वो one off projects होता है एक हफ्ते की deadline पे हैं. They're usually on a
Correct.
at least a 2 week deadline, or most, like my research, one of my research papers that I was writing, that was like a 3 month deadline. So there was like a 3 months of continuous meeting and all of that. So then that tends to get you that students very close, and that's why even in online college I have like made a lot of good friends. So shout out to them. They know who they are if they're listening to this. So yeah, that's it. But there's also a thing that I've seen in India specifically. I mean, I don't know if that exists in abroad as well. That even if we are allowed to pick what we are studying, I mean, liberal arts is something that literally there's no one who's come to tell you that you should do liberal arts. But there's still a discontentment towards academia. And why do you think that there is, and does that culture persist in abroad as well? Because if you look at America, let's just say, they treat their academics very well. So I think they might be more interested in, like, they might just be more interested in whatever they study.
I think the biggest reason here is you get to pick your own classes. So if I'm doing business, it doesn't mean I'm only taking business classes. Irrespective of you being a business student, I've taken classes in sports, I've taken classes in programming as well. So for some reason, I liked Python, so I picked a Python class. Very beginner level, right? So it's just that you have the opportunity to pursue your own interest. Whereas in India, that does not happen that frequently. You're usually stuck with the classes you have to take because the college decides your course. That's changing at a lot of places in the country, especially with private universities. That's changing. But it will take time for it to become a mainstream thing. And until then, there will be discontentment. Like people will not be happy with what they're studying.
Is there the same amount of pressure on students for exams or assignments? Do you see that happening the same way that it happens here?
I mean, it depends upon person to person. When it comes to exams, it just comes down to how you study, right? Even over there, people crunch in the last minute. So my brother was an engineering student, so I used to see that in that engineering life where you used to crunch everything in the last 1 month. Similarly, so when it comes to exam, I think it just depends upon person to person. I've seen people crunch over here in the last hours in India, and I've seen people who've been prepared way in advance for exams, right? I think it's the same way abroad. It just depends upon how you study. There have been times that I've stayed up all night before an exam to study as well, because that's just how I study. There are some people who finish studying a couple of days in advance, right? So when it comes to the fear of exams or crunching in, I think that's a more personal thing rather than a country thing. Wherever you go, you're just going to keep studying that way. Yes, the way you're tested can be different. So I've seen abroad there's a lot of more MCQs. There is a lot of weightage given to assignments. So the way you're tested is different. But when it comes to exam, everyone has a final exam all across the world, and it just comes down to how you study.
I think even in my university, there's a lot of weightage given to assignments. Like 50% of my marks are depend on my assignments, and even those assignments, they are diversified. Like one of them would be a group project, one of them would be an individual project, and one of them would be a quiz. And it would also be diversified. Like a group project could be making a video, writing a report, or doing a live presentation. And individual assignment could be writing an essay or something like that. So I think in that sense, India can really change in some time, maybe in the next 10 years. But because the thing is
100%.
that because even if these, like, I studied in a private university, but if I look at the government universities, they're still using the classical ways of testing. So
Correct. Yeah, I think that change will come. Like I said, private universities are getting adapted to class scheduling as well. It'll just take time, but we'll get there.
So you've been running this the career show for around 8 months now, and do you plan on going back to complete your studies sometime soon, anytime soon?
Yeah, so I will be going back in August. So just under
Yeah.
2 months before I head back. I'll also be pursuing my masters. So it'll be a two-in-one thing wherein I finish my bachelor's and I start my masters along with it as well.
What are you planning to master?
So
What are you planning to do a master's in?
I'm planning to do my masters in finance. So
Investment
a
banking.
lot of my audience already knows that I want to get into investment banking. This is my way of simply manifesting it, maybe. But yeah, I just want to pursue masters in finance, improve my chances of getting into a good IP company, and at the same time continue the career show as well.
Yeah, where do you plan to take it? I mean, and like when I look at the career show, like when I look at the robustness of the platform that you've built on every platform, you have a website as well. I think, like, where do you plan on taking this ahead as you go on?
I'm just focused on my goal, and that's to bridge the career knowledge gap. Like that's been my motto from the very start. When I started off, the idea was only a podcast, right? Like I was telling you. I did not know about the interview reels. I did not know about the website. I just launched my Discord platform to build a community. All of this was never planned. This is just how the journey is going because it's going to help me bridge the career knowledge gap. So the goal is only going to be that. Right now, I'm going to focus on building that community because that feels like the right next step for me to interact closely with my audience and provide them the guidance they require. And also make sure that students are helping other students because that's something that's looked down upon as well. Competition is good, but we need good competition.
Yeah.
Right? So the purpose of that community is to help people understand that and help each other get that internship as well. So that just feels like the right next step for me. And eventually the goal is to make sure that I keep doing different things to make sure that that gap is filled and people have all the information they require.
So with the career show that you've built, have you seen any advantages of it in your academics, in your, like, when you apply to colleges and stuff? Do you think that helps? Because one of my reasons that I'm building what I'm building right now is because I think that things like these, things like a personal brand or things like something on your own. I mean, if you've done some brand of your own, I think that can help, especially when you're applying abroad. Do you think you have an advantage over other people in that sense?
Not only abroad, even India. You know how it's easy to connect with people when you've built a personal brand? It just gets so much easier. People start replying to you. People like, oh, this guy's putting in the time. This guy has given it 8 to 12 months to do something on his own, and now he's reaching out to me. Matlab, ye banda serious hai. He wants to do something. So I think it's just so important to do such things. I don't tend to look at its merits ki this will help me do XYZ. it just comes along.
Ah.
Trust me, it will just come along. People will reach out to you. Like I've had so many people that I admire, I never thought of reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, can you interview me?" And stuff like that, right? Which is such a good feeling because you thought like, "Arey, I would have never been able to talk to someone."
I agree.
So in that sense, yes. And to answer your question more specific to like, does it help in getting admissions into colleges? 100%, right? Colleges abroad don't care about only your academics. They need to see what else you're doing with their life. They actually look at you as a complete person. Academics is just one part of you. So they want to see what else are you doing with your time. So don't put all your eggs in one basket that's academics. Spread them across. Do whatever you like, whether that's dance, that's singing, that's sports, or volunteering work for itself. Do it.
Yeah,
People care about the kind of difference you're making in your own way.
I agree, man. I mean, one of the things that I realized when the lockdown hit, that okay, I cannot go out, so I don't have a lot of opportunities there. So I had two options. I could either sit and whine about why I cannot go out, or I could go and explore. And when I explored that, when you look at the internet now, it's such a fascinating thing that I could be here in my room sitting, and I could do 100 different things just with a laptop and an internet connection, and that's what I did. And that's where even I got started, because there were so many possibilities to look at. And the second thing is that I was open to them. I mean, I really asked myself that you don't have anything else to do. I mean, you like doing this, and you don't have anything else to do. And I don't think if it's just a personal thing, but if you start engaging on the internet with people, I think you automatically engage less in stuff like TV shows. I think that's something that I've noticed. I mean, I might be completely off here, but या तो ऐसे भी हो सकता है कि मैंने बचपन में इतना ज़्यादा टीवी देख लिया कि after a point in time अब मतलब टीवी से वो हो गया. But what I really realized is when you start doing stuff like this, you also start seeing other people who do this stuff, and then it really becomes a lot more fun than work.
Yeah, I do tend to have a different opinion here, and that is not different. You said that you enjoyed doing this, right? I've seen a lot of people pick up getting on social media over the past year, and I don't think it's easy, right?
I mean, it's obviously not.
It's a straining job to think about content all the time. It is really straining. So you have to make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I told you, right?
But
This is
yeah.
going to be a pain to edit, but I don't really mind, because the exhaustion that comes
Exactly.
after you do something that you love, I think that's different. I mean, I've interacted with my peers who are doing internships, and like right now vacations are going on, and I asked them like, क्या हो रहा है? And they're like, इतना काम कराते हैं, ये कराते हैं, वो कराते हैं, and I'm like, मजा आ रहा है? They're like, no, बिल्कुल नहीं. So I mean, I think वो sense में I am either really lucky or really smart. I'd like to think of myself as really lucky in that sense, because I decided to do something that was of my own. So even if there's some pain that comes along with it, I think that's something that I picked for myself.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think at this point my questions are all done. If you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer. If there are, or
No,
just end the
I
chat.
think that was a great conversation.
Yeah, you like it, right?
Yeah, it was super fun. I mean, yeah, those questions were super good.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, if there are any ending notes that you'd like to say, and then we'll end this. There's something that you'd like to tell my audience.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sticking until the end. Thank you so much, Siddhant, for inviting me.
Yeah.
I had a lovely time talking to you. Super glad to have had this conversation, and best of luck for the future, man. I look forward to staying in touch and seeing where you take this.
I'll definitely see you in Mumbai. I host another podcast for my college's newsletter. It's called Table
Super
Talk
cool.
with TLC, and we're planning on getting a table at NMIMS campus when we get there. So I'll definitely host you there once as well.
Definitely, I would be
If
happy to.
if you're here, I
Happy
mean,
to.
if you're here by that time. If there's something that has been bothering you since a long time, something that does not seem to go away no matter how hard you try, I think you should try therapy. And in these times when going out is not your best option, then remote therapy from highly qualified and experienced clinical psychologists is what you need. Log on to www.mentep.com and start your journey towards a better headspace today. Again, that is www.mentep.com. Start your journey towards a better headspace.